if you don't speak the language, I just don't see that you can make use of that.
Welcome to my blog, Martha Sigargök-Martin. Last week, I had the pleasure of interviewing Professor Hennig-Thurau, renowned economist and marketer, specialized in the entertainment industry. We talked about the future of films, video on demand, and marketing strategies. I hope you will enjoy this interview as much as I did myself. As an entertainment researcher and marketing expert, what kind of problem do you think the film industry is facing right now?
Yeah, thank you for having me in this
very honored
in this format. No, it's really a pleasure. So basically, I see two problems or challenges which are kind of related for what we consider the film industry. Probably what you are having in mind is the major studios, the traditional producers that basically constitute the industry. That comes to our mind when we talk about that. So the first one is, I believe that it has been quite a while since the industry has really faced competition. I mean, competition in a way where people are now seeing alternative ways to spend their money and time when it comes to entertainment and needs for entertainment. Everybody needs to be entertained, and usually if you wanted to do audiovisual, you needed to see a movie by one of the major Hollywood studios. And I think the last time really a challenge happened was when the TV industry came up, when people started to watch TV as an alternative to going to the theaters. And now we have over the last years with the digital revolution, a large number of alternative ways to spend money and time for entertainment have basically come up. Watching a great TV series on Amazon or Netflix, or just hanging out with your Facebook friends and Snapchat friends, probably the younger audience would do. So this is a form of entertainment, and what I believe brings the trouble here is that these companies which produce that type of content or host that type of content and alternative ways to spend time are very much professionals when it comes to customer orientation. And I believe that is a structural weakness of the film industry. The film industry really has never cared very much about how audiences like their products.
Sorry, I have a question for that. Sorry that I interrupt, but do you mean
the
film industry in general, or the German or European film industry?
No, I mean general, every traditional producer of filmed entertainment, I would say. So it's the big studios, but it's also the European producers. The standard approach is, I call that a sales approach. So it's very much about producing product and then selling it on a one-by-one basis, so basically getting it in the market, or even selling it before it gets in the market by pre-sales to others. And really the performance is how many go in the theater and watch a movie or buy the DVD, but not whether they like it or not. And that's, for me, that's the difference between sales and and customer focus or customer orientation. And I believe a lot of these new digital companies, they make money with loyal customers, and the only key to loyalty is satisfaction, and that they like it. And that is, if you're facing and a competitor, that's troublesome anyway. But if you're facing a competitor who is truly customer focused, that's a challenge, and they have to deal with. So the producers and distributors of film content, they have to deal with this. And the second related question challenge I see is that there's a lot of data out there, and there's a lot of customer data out there, and a lot of cool techniques and methods to analyze the data to generate customer value and customer advantage. But the problem is that the industry really has, the standard approach has been a nobody knows anything. So you can't learn anything. You just have to have to be happy, and you have your internal rules maybe and all that. But there is no systematic learning approaches. Very few, because the basic idea is you can't learn from the last film or last product. And there is along with this is a culture that ignores and sometimes even despises the power of statistics and probabilistics. And I really believe that what Amazon and what Netflix and all are doing, they are really squeezing data. They are systematically trying to use data to generate information, generate value, customer benefits. And I think it will be very hard for the traditional companies in the entertainment industry, in the film industry, to come up with ways to do similar things. And so that's a strategic disadvantage.
Okay, I'm thinking now it's not because they can't, but because they don't want to. What do you think about this?
I think it's not they. I think there's a feeling and a realization now in the traditional companies that there is a threat. They have not really taken it very seriously, but at this point you cannot really ignore the power of Netflix, and you cannot really ignore how many people are saying they really prefer to watch great content, great series, or spend time on social media. It's just not going it's not going away, and so the internet is not going away, social media is not going away, Netflix is not going away.
Yeah.
And so I think they realized something needs to be done, but they are not fully embracing the powers of data analytics and methods and algorithms. I think because they are not fully convinced, they have a systematic bias against these types of approaches, so they kind of don't want to. But the major problem is they can't at this point, because squeezing data and making it talk about customers, that's a very, very complicated thing.
Yeah, I've noted this on my small scale as a blogger, that it's a very complicated thing.
Yeah,
a long way to go.
Yes, and everybody knows that. Who you just say write a little program and run a little analysis and go beyond frequencies. So if you want to do some regression analysis, that should be the standard vocabulary of Germans and Germany's and other countries' entertainment managers. So it should be just being not the only vocabulary, but it should be part of the standard vocabulary. Because if you don't speak that language, I just don't see that you can make use of that.
Yeah. I'm completely. I didn't plan this question, but I'd like to ask it because we were talking about it. What do you think about the system it's set in Germany? So the public channels and so on, because it goes a little bit in this direction. I think.
Yeah, it's a very good. So the public stations in Germany, TV stations, they face the same challenges, same problems. I believe we need them desperately. You see what happens to a country if you don't have public television and information. I'm not talking about entertainment, but I'm talking political education and all that information. So you lose what's right, the compass for what's right or wrong. So we really need that. But they, at the same time, they have to accept the whatever the powers and challenges, particularly of what the digital revolution brings. There are good advantages or good advances they are making. Take a look at the Funk.
I've heard about them.
It's not an actual TV channel, but a YouTube-based or a streaming-based channel. But this is just a tiny niche at this point, and it needs really to get more dynamics, and they really have to learn the whole system has to be, without changing the objectivity and the skills in journalism, but it really has to. It needs a makeover. Yeah.
What do you think about the German film industry specifically? So, do you think there is a difference? I don't know if you know the difference between the countries in Europe, but
I know it. And so let me talk about German film. So I think really it has all the talent in the world. So that is what I experience when I talk to people. When I see stuff recently, I saw 4 Blocks, this marvelous TV series by Wiedemann and Berg producers. So this is, like, think of Henkel von Donnersmarck, the director. So what a talented group of people. But at the same time, I think there are 2 problems. Again, 2, which I just would like to mention, which are very, very specific for this country. First thing is, I call that the structures problem. We have subsidies are good. They help some. They help create good stuff, and I'm really not one of those who really want to get rid of them. But the system needs to be reinvented. It has to be there has to be innovative approaches, how to allocate, how to have people benefit from that. There needs to be more incentives for great storytelling. So I think that the mechanisms by which the money, the subsidies are allocated, they need to change. There needs to be much more. Those who give the money and spend the money, they have to find ways to benefit from the data. They have to benefit from the statistical power that is out there. So I believe there is need for change, big time. So because otherwise it's just a little messy. Who gets the money, and it's kind of demotivation for those who really come up with great innovation. So I think there's something that needs to be done, and the other part is, and the other issue is the vanity.
It's a big topic.
Yeah, when I was in New York recently at a conference, so somebody said, like, the movies, the film industry, that's a vanity business, and yes, that's true. But in Germany, I think vanity also is there, but it's out of proportion in some ways. So I think, and it's not limited to the film industry. Germany is big on the one hand, so you can really make a living here. You can become a great person. Its economics and reward systems, they are kind of self-satisfying. But the country, on the other hand, is also very small compared to the global dimensions and the global industries we're facing and the global competition. And so there are very few people are just too often too happy about doing something good on a regional, national level. I would just love to see more global ambitions, which does not mean make a Transformers movie, but make something that meets global intellectual artistic demands, compete with the greatest talents. And I think, as I said, we have great talent here. I think the vanity is very often in the way to realize those talents. Yeah. I could not talk about Babylon Berlin, but I don't want to do that. But so let's just move on.
Yeah, it's just I'm thinking about, for example, series in Germany are written by a few people, and you have since years in the USA so-called writers' room.
Yes.
That's why they have amazing series, because
yes. That's a very good point. You have particularly you have a showrunner, so that's and for me that's a cool thing. And 4 Blocks had a showrunner, so that's for me, and that is one of the reasons I believe why it is so stunning. And I think you cannot just use the traditional approaches of auteur filmmaking and transport it to making a series. So I think it just doesn't work. The series work differently, and we have this producer-driven approach. The producer should not be the person who just does all the creative does all the creative decisions. I believe this is where the showrunner fits in, and I believe this is one thing where the German industry really should just move on and just adopt this and just follow the 4 Blocks logic. Yes.
Yeah. And what do you think about the system of Filmförderung or CNC in France? So this instance who decide who gets the money, who doesn't get the money.
Yeah. I believe I touched this issue before, so it's I believe it is essential to have this, and I like it, and it allows the production of very good, very artistic productions. But I believe there should be a very strict split between those productions which are basically paid for or subsidized for their cultural value, and others for their commercial potential. Building up an industry and creating whatever Oscar-worthy or other awards-worthy content. That's different. That's totally different worlds. And I think I would love to see a very clear separation and an allocation of resources. And then please let's consider using better metrics, better criteria, more transparent criteria, and better data to make predictions about the subsidy worthiness of candidates. Less subjectivity. I know culture and art is subjective, but at this point, I think a little more of the power of data analytics would very much help.
Specific topics that I really like is video on demand. We talked about it a little bit before, but how is the film industry reacting to the phenomenon of video on demand, and why?
So at this point, the industry loves it, but they love it because they actually can make money out of it. They can sell their content for pretty high fees, and it's just another window, and a very profitable one because it's digital. That has a margin of whatever 98 or 99%. That is very good. But I believe that they don't really understand the business. So because, as I said, the major producers are in a sales business. That doesn't mean they want to sell bad films or bad content, but they are not really interested in what the customers think about their products. And I believe the whole VOD business, and we're talking subscription based, I think. So subscription business is very much about understanding customers and offering a long-term value. So this is what Netflix does and why it's so strong. And now I believe this is what they're now concerned of. They don't understand why Netflix is so powerful, because Hulu basically should be much more powerful, because Hulu is having immediate access in America. It's owned by the studios. So why is Netflix more powerful? And my argument would be because Netflix is a customer-centric, customer-focused company, and they make it so much fun for a customer to watch great stuff, but also just to be there, just to browse and do all that. And so that's what set aside Netflix from whichever in Germany, and which will probably also set it aside from Disney's and other studios own SVOD channels. I think in 2001 the studio started something that was called Movie Link. Probably, I don't know if you remember that. Nobody basically I talked to remember that. It failed big time, and I believe it. Why did it? Because at that time, hey, that was years ahead of what others have done and made a lot of money with. Because I think when you go back and you read the articles about that, is that the studios had no real interest in the customers. I mean, in the customers' money, yes, that's true, but not really in making them happy and making them enjoy on a long-term basis. That recommendation systems fall into this. A wonderful high-level usability, all that's very expensive. But making use of that, producing stuff allows you to produce stuff that really fits into niches, not only making the biggest and boldest, but also making interesting niche targeted stuff, understand your niches, understand your customers, and then spend the budgets in a way that is economic. So if you have a small target group, spend less money. If you have a bigger target group, spend more money. You can do so much stuff that pleases customers. Customers are very individual, very idiosyncratic, but they are not easy to read. You really have to have an interest in them, and I think that's what the SVOD companies are doing. Some of them are doing, and that's very, very difficult to copy. And so it's this love is kind of turning into a hate thing. I would call that a frenemy relationship. So they're friends and they're enemies. And now I think with the there's this talk about the merger by Disney and Fox, which main arguments seem to be to basically bump up the library of Disney for their own channels. I'm skeptic. It's a great brand, but if that's going to work, they need to adopt a customer-centric perspective to make people stay and make them just be loyal. And we will see if that's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm thinking about, I don't know if you've heard about this scandal at the Cannes Film Festival.
I understand the creatives, the artists, they have this preference. They think and they feel that movies belong in a theater. I love movie theaters if they are well maintained and I have seen some of the greatest films, the greatest experience I had on very small screens. Actually, today smartphones have almost the size of the screens I had in my own room. So, and I love that. I felt in love, and I still love those works. So, I believe that I would love to see more openness, because I think that the art of filmed entertainment is not really limited to the big screen. I think, and you know what the big screen is. So when I go to the local theater here, cinema, a lovely theater in Warendorfer Straße at Münster, the screen is actually not much bigger than the one we have in our basement, and actually not even much bigger, and so than some TVs we see today. So it's just, I believe it's a very orthodox, very conservative approach. I understand that, but economically, I believe this is a very difficult thing. If you split, if you exclude, if you divide the business and say, no, Netflix is no longer, Netflix's productions and Amazon's productions or whatever are no longer part of what we are honoring here, this will just reduce the overall acceptance and attractiveness of the film business, because the film business minus Netflix great productions, it's less. So I would say.
What do you think would be the next Netflix?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I'm not sure that there will be one, because if they're doing it, keeping it up the way they do, platforms are basically economically winner takes all markets, as we call that, because they are based on that's I know that's lecture language. I try to avoid that. So, but they're based on network effects, how we call that. So the more people watch it, the more attractive the content is, and then they have great recommendation systems, which are much more reliable. The more people are feeding the recommendation systems, there are also what we call indirect network effects. So the more customers Netflix has, the more companies and the more stars are willing to cooperate with them and provide great content. So this is what we call this winner takes all market. So I think it will, in the near future, it will be very tough for anybody to build another Netflix or another Amazon, or maybe Facebook and Google might be able to do that.
What about YouTube?
Yeah, Google, YouTube. No, I think Google is. I don't see that. Google can do advertising and search. They are great in doing that. But I just don't see them in any really content. I don't sense that they have the sensitivity to do that. I just don't see that. So that would be my point. I believe if somebody would come up, it would need to be somebody with an ultra high level of data intelligence and a very, very strong customer focus. So if somebody comes up like Mr. Bezos has done for online retail in general, so it's all about him. So it's in this case, and Netflix is all about Mr. Hastings. So about their personal attitude and their understanding of the business. So I believe they are the greatest enemy. So if there would be the need for a next Netflix, I believe this would only be the case if those guys are really starting to move in the wrong direction and forget what they're here for.
So what do you think independent filmmakers are doing wrong regarding marketing?
Yeah, actually, as a marketing professor, it would be a shame if I couldn't comment on that. So that's true. So my 5 cents or 2 cents or whatever your audience actually has to judge how many cents that are. But so my point would be that 2 points. So first point, there is so much ignorance. There is so much ignorance towards everything that happens outside the film entertainment industry. So the general phrase I so often hear is, the industry is so unique, there is hardly anything that we can learn from marketing experts outside the film industry. Yeah. And that is something that is just straightforward nonsense. So let me say it this way, with all due respect. So it's not that way. Of course, there are marketing models and practices, and they require adjustment to the specifics of film and series and other shows. But that is something completely different than not being able to learn anything. So I really recommend marketers to, in the film field, in the field of film, to look beyond the industry barrier and learn from what is happening, how marketing looks like, how good marketing looks like outside. Because then making a transfer this information back to the own problem This is much more promising than just saying, we have to basically reinvent the wheel. And one other thing is a key mistake based on this lack of openness to look beyond the industry barriers, that outside the film industry, most people know that marketing must not start when the product is finished. So good marketing means that we teach this in Münster, and in Harvard is the same approach everywhere. So good marketing means that the product and the communication and the distribution and even the pricing, they are developed in an integrated way, which does not mean that there is a compromise for every content decision. So if you want to have the hero live or die, and so the marketing guy who sells the toys makes the decision. No, that's not what this is about. It is about to really, if you have a vision, you have to tell that vision up front, and so that then it can be decided, is this something that should go to the theatrical window? Should that go to the pay TV window direct? Who should be the finest, whatever? And the communication campaign should also start very early and should be very clear. Is that a potential blockbuster? Is that a niche marketed product? What are the target groups? How can we approach them early on? Whatever. And if there are changes that others suggest because it's just the product would not be fitting, then let's discuss. But of course, the person who makes the product should be in charge. That's the way, whatever, that's like the equivalent to the CEO. So marketing should not be treated or equated with compromising the product. But it means to not sell a product, because that is sales and that is not marketing. So what needs to be done is really everybody needs to sit together. What is the vision here? And then develop a marketing plan in terms of communication, distribution, pricing, all that at the very beginning simultaneously, and then advance that and make it grow. That's the general idea, not selling and advertising a finished product.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And maybe testing also
the
market.
Yeah. Exactly. Do market research, and a lot of people say like, no, we can't do that because it's so idiosyncratic. It's so unique, That's true. It's not easy, but seriously, when you speak to other people in other industries, it's very rare to find somebody who says, I'm developing this new product, and it's an easy beasy thing. Nobody does that. So there are problems, there are challenges, but what the industry does, it actually makes monies with product nobody had seen. That's hard in any other industry. So there's a strategic advantage even.
Yeah. What excites you the most about marketing and the entertainment industry?
That's a good question to end with, I think. So let me, as a marketing professor, use a maybe unconventional approach here. In my lecture, I cite Freud. And because he has talked and written about the pleasure principle. So the basic idea is that of the pleasure principle is that why are we as humans, why are we here on this planet? Why are we doing things? And I believe that having a great time and enjoying life is kind of essentially what life is about. So, and entertainment actually has the potential to provide the content, to create the content that makes us do that, to makes us enjoy pleasure, feel pleasure, and enjoy life. So this is what really excites me about the entertainment industry. The reality, the Transformers and all those blown up and constructed works, they don't live up to this big dream, this big vision of the pleasure principle, I would love to see more. But the potential is definitely there. So that makes me excited about entertainment. What makes me excited about marketing? If it's done right, if marketing is done right, it can make people happy, and it can make marketers rich. So by making money from people's satisfaction, and I believe that is quite a unique constellation, isn't it?
It's a win-win.
Yes.
So thank you so much for taking the time to answering my question. It has been a pleasure having you on my blog, and I'm sure lots of people are going to be interested in what you have to say. So
I'm looking forward. That would be nice, actually, and I hope people enjoy this, and hopefully they don't disagree. They should disagree, but they shouldn't disagree with everything I said. So it's fun. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.